What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review for Monday Night Raw. Today we are doing the February 21st, 1994 edition. So, Raw took a week off since its last episode, and we start with the return of Randy Savage to the commentary table, and Vince McMahon with a great introduction saying that without a doubt, Savage will one day be in the WWF Hall of Fame. Took about 20 years more for this to happen, and I would love to be a fly on the wall to why it didn't happen sooner, but let's get back to the show. The first match is the Quebecers versus Racer Ramon and Marty Jannetty, or so I thought it was, but they switched them with the 1-2-3 Kid. This match is for the tag team titles, and I'll mention this later, but I did some research to see if there was a reason behind the scenes to why Marty Jannetty was taken out of the match, so we'll get to that a little bit later. A bunch of just working the crowd for the first couple of minutes of the match. Johnny Polo, of course, gets involved, but Racer is able to stay in control. Then he goes after Polo and gives him the Racer's edge on the outside, and since it's the early 90s, Johnny gets taken to the back and is probably out for a couple weeks. An accidental low blow keeps Racer and the Kid on offense. They work on Pierre's leg for a while until he tags out, but then Jacques also gets his legs taken out and worked on. Then we see Diesel make his way down, halfway down the entrance ramp. The Kid gets some quick offense, but he goes for one too many high risk moves and pays for it when I believe Pierre reverses it and they take back control. Racer comes in and hits a fallaway slam from the top rope, then hits the Racer's edge, but Shawn Michaels runs in and breaks up the pin for the disqualification. Shawn teases getting back in the ring to take them both out, but he decides not to, and him along with Diesel walk to the back. I get why Shawn Michaels came out to interfere here, but again, a disqualification to end a match that just takes a long ass time to build, and then it just ends up not counting, basically. So I hate when they do that, and that's going to be, for the rest of WWF, we're going to be seeing a ton of that stuff. So we got to get used to it, I guess. Then we are told that Yokozuna will defend the WWF Championship against Randy Savage, a huge title match right before WrestleMania. Jim Cornette then comes out to introduce one half of his tag team from the Heavenly Bodies, Tom Pritchard, but he talks some crap to Macho Man since he also manages Yokozuna and Crush, who I'm guessing will get involved to cost Savage the match next week to set up something for them at WrestleMania. Again, a match that's probably going to be like 10 minutes, and then it's just going to end up with Crush interfering, and at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. Tom Pritchard, by the way, is taking on Bret Hart, so for the first time in probably months, two matches on the show back to back where the opponents are known to the audience as more than just enhancement talent. The match gets a phone call from Donnie Wahlberg, who is going to be at WrestleMania 10, and he weighs in on the sibling rivalry, talking about himself and his brother, who is Marky Mark, which, if they had Donnie, why not spend a little extra money to get Mark, since he is the more famous Wahlberg? Then, out of nowhere, Macho Man steps in to take the tennis racket from Cornette, who goes flying and the back of his head hits the steps, or so it looks like. I'm guessing Jim was trying to hit Bret with it, but Randy stepped in and stopped it. Backbreaker followed by the classic elbow drop from the second rope, then a roll up for a near fall. Then Cornette still gets involved and distracts Bret, allowing Tom to knock him out to the outside. Then Owen runs out and tosses Bret back in the ring and tells the camera that Bret always needs his help. Bret Hart gets back in the ring and locks in the sharpshooter and gets the win. Owen just stares back at his brother from the entrance area and they both think about going at it, but the referees are there to hold them back. It looked like Bret said, you couldn't really hear him, but it looked like he mouthed, "You fucking selfish something." I couldn't make out the rest of that, but I'm pretty sure he dropped the F-bomb on Owen there. I've seen their match at Mania before, but now that I have this backstory, this time when I see it, it might be one of the greatest matches in terms of a story that I've seen doing these reviews and going back and watching these pay-per-views. The best match that I've seen so far since I started doing these reviews. I started at SummerSlam watching the pay-per-views. I didn't watch King of the Ring or the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania from 1993. If I had to pick, like, from SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble, I wouldn't say there's been a great match so far that I've seen, and that's saying a lot for all the talent that's been involved. Bret Hart, even though he is one of the best wrestlers on the show right now, he was feuding with Doink and Jerry the King Lawler, and then he had a Survivor Series tag match with his brothers at Survivor Series, so he couldn't really have a good match just one-on-one with Bret. Owen Hart has just recently come in and just been by himself right now. And then on pay-per-view, the Quebecers and the Steiner brothers haven't really done much either, but those guys have been two of the top tag teams in the WWF so far. And then Shawn Michaels had a decent match at SummerSlam, but he got DQ'd or counted out again in a title match. And then at Survivor Series, he was in a tag team. He was in that Survivor Series tag match with Bret. So Shawn Michaels, another good wrestler, but you haven't really seen much of these guys going at it by themselves in one-on-one against better competition. And on Raw, there has been a couple of good matches. Mr. Perfect versus Flair, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. I think twice they had a decent match. Shawn Michaels versus the Kid from a couple weeks ago. And the Steiner brothers have had a decent amount of tag team matches that I've enjoyed. Same with the Head Shrinkers. But yeah, I think Owen and Brett is going to be up there as well when I watch it again. But moving on, after the WrestleMania 10 update, the show ends with Yokozuna, Jim Cornette, and Mr. Fuji coming out to confront Macho Man. I'll let you listen to a little bit of it, and I'll be back with the awards.
Let me tell you something. Not only are you a psychopath, not only are you a maniac, but you're a thief. You're a cat burglar. You have stacked my property. He stole my property. He took my tennis racket. He assaulted me. He tried to murder me. And now I've brought Yokozuna out here.
Alright, so that was that. Let's get to the awards. For the best moment, I had Shawn coming back, or I guess just interfering in Razor's match, continuing their feud, which most of us knows where it leads, but finally after being on and off, we see them in the same segment again. For the worst moment, I'm being nitpicky here, but the fact that they got Donnie Wahlberg instead of Mark Wahlberg at WrestleMania, I mean, you're already spending money on multiple celebrities. Just go ahead and get ones that are actually A-listers. And actually, as I say that, I don't know if Mark Wahlberg was an A-lister at that time, and I don't even know if he's an A-lister now. Just go ahead and spend money on actual A-listers instead of going for these C, and I'm not talking about like C as in cat, I'm talking about Z as in zebra. For the wackest performer, I don't think there was a bad performer on this episode. No jobbers or wrestlers with odd gimmicks this time. For the standout performer, I'm going to pick the Quebecers. While they don't excite anyone when they wrestle, they're great heels and they get in there and sell for their opponents. And as some heavier guys for this era, that's actually saying a lot. They're actually in there working. And not only being made to look good by their opponents, they're actually helping out and making their opponents look good as well. So this episode is going to get a good grade from me. While they did just enough to keep me intrigued during the show, it wasn't a must-watch show, but if you have the time, skim through this week and watch the tag match and some of the Bret match where Owen makes his appearance. And getting back to why Jannetty was not in the tag team title match like he was promoted to be, it looks like he had some legal troubles during this time, so that might explain why he wasn't there. I don't think we're going to see him again for a while, so that's going to be it for Marty Jannetty in terms of them actually pushing him. I will say he was one of the many superstars I've come to appreciate because of doing these reviews. I don't know what kind of person he is, so don't come at me with any of what he's done. I'm speaking purely about his stuff in this last year of 1993, which was some of the more entertaining segments and matches for me throughout the year. But with that being said, WrestleMania looks to be building up a little better than in 1993 on Raw, so we'll see how they continue this, and until then, I'm out.